Can you monetize spirituality ethically? I'm going to answer that question today, as well as the question of finding your niche and the common advice that you're given when you're starting this online education journey is to build a business around your passions, or to build a community around your interests. For example, if you're an artist, if you're a healer, if you're a singer, it is mind-boggling in the beginning, but I believe that I have finally found a little bit of clarity on that. I want to answer the questions of monetization, finding your niche, and building a community around your passions. So, number one, can you ethically monetize spirituality? This is a question every spiritual entrepreneur must answer, because when we start this online education journey, we're always told to find your niche and to build around your passions. So is this possible to do it ethically? Because you don't own somebody's connection to the divine, you can't ask for compensation. But I believe there is an even better, more meaningful way to provide much needed services if you are a spiritually minded individual like me. So first off, who am I to speak on this? So on my journey after I graduated from college and I entered into the workforce, I quickly found that working around people who drained my energy wasn't going to be sustainable for the long run, and especially doing work that didn't align with my soul. So this led me to studying alternative forms of income. And then in turn led to things like self-development and then meditation. And my foundations are of spirituality. I've been a spiritual practitioner my whole life, and I'm coming from a lineage of spiritual practitioners. But out of respect and love for my lineage, I would never dream of just exploiting that as a means of a business, because it's a gift. It's something that I don't own. It belongs to my next generations. So I respect it accordingly. That's just my personal opinion. That being said, that's just one of the many parts about finding a niche that I never could vibe with and I could never resonate with, which is because we don't believe it's ethical to monetize our spiritual gifts, or we don't believe it's possible to ethically monetize spirituality and spiritual transformation, and we never quite resonated with the business mind and being only sales driven. There is thankfully a good balance of mixing both of those things together ethically. And this leads me to slide number 2, in which I tried to convey that the common business advice doesn't work for spiritual people, which is find your niche and honor your truth. And as I said here, for years I contemplated this tension between traditional business advice and your spiritual calling. I felt torn between speaking my truth and surviving with sales. The conventional niche down approach just didn't resonate with my spiritual foundation. And I believe I have found the solution to this, which is a modality bridge, which is using spirituality as your foundation to build a bridge that is paired with other skills like writing or speaking and marketing, in speeding somebody's transformation process up and helping them to get to their destination of health and happiness much faster than if they were to do it on their own. And I have been noticing that there are many other people who are like me, who are struggling with this monetization riddle. The other day I was going through a Q&A Zoom session from one of my favorite creators. His name's David Bolin. If you guys get a chance, go check him out. And he was having a Q&A with some of his community, and somebody asked about monetization. There was 2 different guys. One of them was a health expert, and he coached people about health and spirituality. And he was having a question about clarity on his offer, because people wanted to know more about business advice, and he was a spirituality expert. And so he was wanting to learn how to get clarity on his offer, on how to correctly monetize. And then the other individual was a musician, and he explained how he has a lot of followers, he has a big community, and that he isn't able to survive on music alone, that he had to create a course that teaches people how to play an instrument. The course was a small part of his income, and he was trying to find ways to better maximize and leverage his audience to have a more sustainable monetization process. And so what others in the community pointed out to him, the fact that he was a musician doesn't make him only subjected to monetizing as a musician only. In other words, he could monetize in terms of helping others build a business and helping others to monetize in the way that he is, and that would also supplement his income. So he could go out to other musicians and share with others how he was able to build courses around teaching others music and instruments, and doing that as a means to supplement their income. And so this leads me to the Modality Bridge, a bridge in which we could help others to reach their destination goals faster. I have written here, be the bridge. You can't monetize the divine, but you can monetize the bridge to transformation. So this answers the first question. Can you ethically monetize spirituality? So in my opinion, although I cannot monetize spirituality ethically because I don't own it, what I could do is use spirituality as my foundation to create content that fuels my writing and fuels my media, and teach others how to build communities. And all of these skills stacked together could be the Modality Bridge. So in my case, spirituality for ideas that fuel my writing, they fuel my mindset, they cover topics such as universal principles. All of those things apply to building an online community and building an online business. So you package spirituality with writing, speaking, marketing, and sales, or personal brand, media, content, promotions, and sales. Package those things together, help others to do the same, and that could be my Modality Bridge in which I could help somebody to achieve their health and happiness faster. So spirituality isn't your product, it's your foundation and guiding principle that informs everything you do. So you're not, in a sense, selling your spirituality, you're selling a map, not connection to source, but the path you use to find yours. Universal needs with spiritual tools. Everyone needs help with health, wealth, happiness, and relationships. And in order for us to help others to get there, they're going to need to learn a little bit about content, branding. They're going to need to learn a little bit about social media. And they're going to need spirituality as their foundation to help them to have the mindset, to help them to feel fruitful. And one creator that I follow said it like this. He said, you can't fully enjoy your wealth unless you have your spirituality and your health. You can't fully enjoy your spirituality unless you have your health and wealth. And you can't fully enjoy your health unless you have your spirituality and your wealth. You can't have one without the other. In order to maximize your full potential, you're going to need all three of those things. As much as we are taught the opposite of that you can't be wealthy and be spiritual at the same time, others argue the opposite, that you need all of those things to be a fully fulfilled individual. Okay, so this leads me to the Modality Bridge framework in which I just talked about. Your ethical path to spiritual business. So the spirituality is your foundation, your authentic core and connection to the infinite resource of ideas, principles, and antidotes. With the Modality Bridge, the tools, skills, and frameworks you've developed from lived experience that ultimately results in somebody's transformation. The tangible results your clients experience, your community experiences from someone who walked beside them on this growth. So what somebody can ethically charge for is done with you work or done for you work. So there's also do-it-yourself work, which is courses, which is what I'll talk about later in the video. But in order to have a sustainable income and a sustainable business practice, you're going to have to at times do done with you work and done for you work. in which all of the things that you teach, you could either do it alongside of your community, or when somebody wants to pay a premium, you could do it for them. And so these are the mediums. So the mediums in which to deliver your spiritual truths, or your healing modalities, or if you're a musician, your monetization practices, or if you're a health expert, in order to deliver your health tips and your diet plans, you're going to have to develop this understanding of this medium. So we have writing, written content, newsletters, that could be blog posts, and that could be scripts for your videos in which you help people to solve their problems and their solutions. Speaking, through your experience, practice, and wisdom, much like I'm doing now. I'm not a pro at it, but I do genuinely want to help somebody and help them to acquire the same things that I'm seeking in life. So developing speaking as a medium to deliver your mission, your message, and then marketing. Because we don't resonate with the typical business practice of pushing sales on people, we'd have to build a community, and this is where the marketing comes in. Finding a central hub, a home ground in which your community can meet, discuss ideas with one another, and ask you questions, and sit in on group meetings and group discussions with one another. From there, on the back end of this community, is where people can come to you for in-depth services, as I was saying, done with you, done for you. And last, we have sales. So in order for us to maximize our potential, and in order for us to avoid the situation that I mentioned earlier in my video, which is doing work that doesn't resonate with your soul and working around people who drain you, we're going to have to eventually find a way to make sales. And there are good people out there who genuinely would love to support you in your work, especially if they see themselves in you and they resonate with your style. These four components form your ethical pathway to serve others while honoring your spiritual foundation. From foundation to application. So for me, how this looks in practice is I have my life's work available for people to develop that spiritual grounding, that spiritual foundation. It's called Feathers and Frequency. It's embedded within my heart-led creator community. And that is meant to help advanced spiritual practitioners learn earth-based spiritual principles in which to start developing healing modalities, intuition, developing spiritual principles, and developing their own understanding in which they could take those principles and go out and help better serve their communities and their people and their families. And so I have my Feathers and Frequency course symbolized by the feather here, and then I have my Claim Your Digital Real Estate for Heart-Led Creators course that is within my community, and that is teaching people about all of these principles, about how to build day-to-day, step-by-step, how to formulate a community, how to build trust, how to formulate connections, how to formulate a 5-lever system that would ultimately lead you toward building a sustainable community that honored your gifts and your talents. To talking about the digital garden. So, times ago, our grandparents had to build an in-person store or build a storefront in a marketplace like a mall. And yesterday's market was limited by physical location and local connections. And if you weren't already wealthy, this at times was very difficult to do. And thankfully today we live in a time where any one of us can open up our phone and start building a digital coffee shop. We could start sharing ideas, we could start writing, we could start teaching others about our tips and tricks on how to overcome obstacles in life. And think of it as building a diet plan. So when you're on a diet plan, you don't tell people just drink water and you're going to be okay, or just eat vegetables and you will gain health. It's a mixture of different elements that solve a specific health problem. So for example, if you wanted to lose weight, you would give people a supplement, you would give them a meal replacement, you would tell them to exercise, and you would tell them to replace, carbs and bread and fatty foods. And so all of those components together make an antidote and a solution and a plan that solves their specific problem. So in social media, when people give us the advice to find a niche, I believe niche only applies to when you're solving a really specific problem. But when you're creating in your digital garden, posting on social media, making videos, teaching people, you're more human when you could just talk about your interests as a whole, talk about your stresses, talk about your challenges and mindset, talk about your health, talk about your family, work-life balance. All of these things people could identify with and see you as a human being who not only can solve their specific problem, whether that be a health problem, a relationship problem, a business problem, but they'll see you as somebody like them who is also having to balance all of these other components to live a healthy, happy, fulfilled life. So that answers the question of a niche and building around your passions. Niche refers to helping people to solve a specific problem, and building around your passions means that you could talk about spirituality, you could talk about family, you could talk about sports, you could talk about your joys and your dislikes. All of these things make you relatable to others. The finding your niche aspect comes when you're solving a really specific problem for somebody, whether that be a business problem, a health problem, or it could be a mixture of those problems. So, if individuals feel compelled and feel motivated to sow their seeds in the digital garden, and you repeat a few consistent tasks, such as writing and speaking and building a community, in 6 months' time, you could have a digital presence and authentically build a community online. And over the course of a year, 2 years, you could develop your unique modality bridge and support systems, refine them, and even get better at them. You're going to create a sustainable income while staying true to your spiritual truths. And just like any gardening practice, these things take time. You're going to have to go through the ups and downs, and you're going to have to build in the germination phase in the dark when nobody sees you working. But if you're consistent, which is what I am trying to support people in doing in my heart-led creator community, if you're consistent, you could look back in 6 months, a year, 2 years, and find yourself in significantly better circumstances. That being said, I highly encourage spiritually minded, gifted, intuitive thinkers to start building their communities. And if anybody is interested, I have my Heart-Led Creators community. The link will be in the description and in my bio. Please feel free to check out my free course. And I'm going to be continuously developing these things and inviting people to meet up and to ask their questions so that we could help one another solve these problems. So if you're a spiritual practitioner, healer, or deep thinker, tired of doing work that doesn't resonate with your soul, I highly encourage you to share your voice in the digital world consistently over time. In 6 months, you could have a digital coffee shop working for you and adding a few hundred to your account each week. Done for 1 to 2 years, this could easily replace your income. Alrighty, as I was saying, start building your heart-led business today. Honor your foundations. Stay connected to your spiritual truth as you build. Create a bridge that helps others. Develop your unique modality that serves others ethically. Grow your garden. Nurture connections that create abundance for all. If you need help with this process, my program was created to help others gain clarity and begin this process step by step. So with that, I hope this provides some clarity on finding your niche, monetization, and building around your passions. This is something that I wish I had in the beginning of my journey. Somebody to show me and teach me what to do step by step so that I could build and leverage my gifts and my talents. So with that being said, thank you all for your time. Looking forward to seeing you all in the Heart-Led Creator community. In the meantime, be well, be blessed.